Diablo 4 is so bad that even metal needs to take a hot, steamy dump on it.
Once again, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I think it's time for another D4 bad video because they just released something that I felt the need to kind of rant on as a whole, especially after playing some Last Epoch.
Nice.
And coming from a PoE background, of course. But
Good.
first of all, I did want to say on the 17th or 18th, something like that, in a couple weeks' time, I'm going to go to LA and California with a bunch of other people. It's like a little press event for PoE 2. They're just going to talk about, or Jonathan's going to talk about PoE 2, some development stuff. Gonna give us some playtime, you know, bit of a test demo, etc., sort of thing. And
Dude, every time you look at his fingers, you're thinking to yourself, holy moly, those are some sausages, okay? Man, as a climber, that's what happens. Your fingers are more buff than anything else in your body. Man, that's absolutely crazy every time I look at it. How much power does he have in those things? Can he, like, smash coconuts with his bare arms or something like that? Man.
And we can record our gameplay, and then I'll be able to show it back to you when they're happy to let us do that. Maybe at the league announcement, something like that. And then I'll fly back, and yeah, it's just gonna be a nice 16-hour there, 16-hour back. I'll be there for like a day, and it'll be an event that I'm just doing for the sake of trying to get a bit more PoE 2 gameplay, so I can actually give some info on it and get a better look at it as opposed to the small look I did at ExileCon. So kind of exciting stuff. That will be very fun and hopefully good things. I'm looking forward to PoE 2 a lot. And
yeah, when PoE 2 starts actually dropping things, it's going to be very interesting to see how it's going to turn out.
I think it could be the new standard genre definition of ARPG shit, as we all hopefully feel as well. But
it's going to be good, but I really doubt. PoE has... They have done interesting things, do not get me wrong, but PoE has not innovated in a significant amount of time at this point. They have done interesting stuff for sure, but innovation, not really something that PoE does at this moment. They are sticking to their formula, the formula that they do really good, and they just keep trying to make that formula better, but that does not necessarily mean that it does a lot of innovation. PoE 2 is going to be kind of legitimately their first real innovation that they have done in years.
I digress. Back to D4 Bad. We have, or they have, a new system that they released, Gauntlet, which is like leaderboard style thing, which is something that people have been anticipating since the start of the game, and they've been...
Anticipating, yes. Wanting, absolutely no.
You know, outlined it pretty much from the get-go that it's going to be... something they'll do in like season 3, some shit like that. It got delayed, whatever. It finally came out. It's a pretty lackluster system from what we've seen so far. Now, I would show you footage of it.
Imagine, by the way, just the idea of being so bad as a developer, so ridiculously incompetent, that you need to delay something as a ladder board. Let that sink in for a minute. The people making Diablo 4 are so ridiculously incompetent, they delay the ladder board.
I don't play it at the moment. I started this season, just played a little bit, like, I don't know, a few days, and then stopped. I don't have a high-level character. I'm not going to download a patch or some shit, and I'm not going to steal someone else's footage, so I'll save you the pain, and I'll just let you watch my latest character on Last Epoch that I've been putting together, which is a mage, doing fireball and with meteor procs and using some sort of flame thing, and it's been a lot of fun to put together. Okay, so we'll watch that while I rant about this. Either way, so what's happening with the D4 Gauntlet thing is not good stuff. Basically, it's a very rehashed system. It is just plain and simply...
Now that is what you call an actual fire mage. Look at that. If you have fire mage fantasy, there it is.
Challenge rifts from D3, but like worse, yes, potentially. So people wanted these leaderboards.
And by the way, that is exactly why I'm saying that the devs are incompetent. Because essentially now the big updates for D4 are just rehash stuff from Diablo 3 at this point. It's crazy. Again, I'm predicting that the Haradric Cube is going to come in at any moment now because... with all the bad systems and item design that they have done, I don't think it can't be avoided at this point. The season 4 item change, item fix, or whatever you want to call it, is probably going to be a failure because, technically speaking, changing the stats of items means only two things. Either they're going to fail because, well, they're incompetent idiots, or they are going to simplify and make it a literal carbon copy of Diablo 3. And again, we have been taking just step after step after step after leap into the direction of Diablo 3. You know, the game that completely failed and everyone hated because it was a dumpster fire. Yeah, exactly, that game. I am not a fan.
Or some kind of leaderboard, something to compete against with people, and what they got was what was a D3 challenge rift from, like, 5 to 10 years ago or something. Just a stock standard layout of a dungeon that doesn't change for a week. People can compete in it, just trying to get the most points by clearing monsters the fastest. You click a bunch of shrines / pylons and you get more powerful, and then you reset some mobs, and then you just collect more points. It's like, I don't know, 8 minutes or something like that, and one run is probably all you'll ever need from what I've seen from some streamers and some content. Yep, that's pretty much all it takes to get a feel for all you'll ever need for that thing. And the name of the game, or the...
God, again, it's such a just stupid idea. Okay, implementing a ladder board, sure, implement it, but that should be like, hey, one day you wake up and there's a ladder board. They don't even announce it because it's such a minor thing, right? But it's a completely different thing. When the Gauntlet, that thing is like your big selling point. Oh, boys, look at that. It's gonna be the Gauntlet. It's gonna be amazing. It's not gonna be amazing. It's gonna be trash and no one cares about it. You're implementing essentially kind of hardcore thing into a game that is designed to be as softcore, as accessible as possible. Will people play the Gauntlet? Yes. Do people actually care about the Gauntlet? Absolutely no.
Lack of the name of the game for me is innovation. Once again, when I first talked about D4, when I first looked at D4, I felt that there was a distinct lack of innovation, and this once again goes ahead with that. There just isn't any attempt at trying to bring us the next big thing. It's just bringing you a thing that exists or has existed, and maybe a different version of that, but like a lot of the times worse, and then it'll catch up. Yeah, I don't know how to even... Like I said, when D4 first came out, it felt like a game that was already solved. We got it as a beta, and for the first 20 levels, you got to play it, and you pretty much saw the game and everything it would have had, and that was pretty much it.
To be honest, I'm gonna say one thing. That is not necessarily bad. A solved game is not bad by definition. Easy game is not bad by definition. A complex game is not bad by definition. These nebulous terms like hard, easy, solved, complex, casual, hardcore, they don't really mean a lot. They mean that you're gonna garner an X amount of audience, probably in general terms, but after that, it doesn't mean anything. Because as long as the game is good, people are gonna play it. We have seen so much. Palworld, Helldivers, Hogwarts Legacy even can be thrown into that mix. Dark Souls. Before Dark Souls, games like that did not succeed. But after Dark Souls, games like that succeed a lot.
For the whole game. Because there isn't much depth to it. There isn't much new stuff. There isn't much innovation. It's what you saw from D3. It's what you're going to see now. And it was a very safe play, I feel. So my understanding of this is, I think they tried to put out the next Diablo, which was going to sell the most because it was going to be a safe play that looked like another game that people go, yep, more Diablo, I'm going to buy that. And then once they did that, they went, okay, now tell us how we can make this game cooler and better, because since then they have been trying to do that. They've been like, yep, give us feedback, yep, you like that, you don't like that, we'll try and put that in, we'll try and make this better. And it turns out they need an itemization rework, which is something...
I don't agree with this, also. The devs have been horrible with feedback. The fact that the base game is still horrible, the fact that most things that the player base just yelled off the top of their lungs, because when D4 came out, all of the criticisms of it were the same. Every YouTuber was telling you the same thing. Everyone on Reddit was telling you the same thing. Forums, same thing. Everyone had an absolutely one-for-one almost opinion of what's wrong with the game. How much did the devs take into account from that? Zero! Zero! 2 zeros! Still zero! Absolutely nothing. And, well, they decided to change things that absolutely no one asked, no one cared about. At the start, they even did worse. They nerfed things that people liked because the game needs to be sad and bad throughout, so...
That's happening next season, which I would not hold your breath for. But it seems like they started from the point of let's sell as many copies as possible and then let's try and make a game, and it just isn't something that can happen, I don't think. People, when D4 first came out, said it's got a good foundation, like it's got a good core, because, you know, it was shiny, had good polish, and played rather well. Unfortunately, that's just not how the foundation worked out, because you can't really change the game after that point, the way the systems are in place, because the systems themselves are pretty bad. Whereas this game...
I think it's also a lot, well, completely irrelevant if you say, oh, the game has a good core, or, you know, any kind of garbage dumpster fire takes like that. Because, what does it matter? You can look at a complete travesty of a game and say, oh, it has a good core. Yeah. If they did a lot different, the game would have been better, but that does not mean that, you know, the game is recoverable. Starfield has a good core. Yeah. And it can be made into a good game if you completely erase the game and start over. But it has a good core.
Game, Last Epoch, after having tried it, I think this game has an actual good foundation. It just could use some polish and some better play here or there, and, you know, fixing up of some bugs and whatnot. But its actual systems and...
Also, by the way, note, my definition of a foundation is different from Maddle's definition of foundation. He's talking about, you know, how the game looks, how the game feels, and things like that. I'm talking about core mechanics in the game and what is possible when I talk about foundation.
Its core and its foundation is good. You can build upon this, and you can make a bigger, better game. So that's the whole difference. This game tried to innovate, whereas D4 did not. So this game looked at past games, Path of Exile, you know, Diablos, whatever it is, and took the systems and tried to bring their own light to it, tried to bring their own version of those things that were good, things that worked. They looked at things that worked. You can actually see it.
That's a good way to describe it, yes.
In this game, in plenty of cases. They took stuff from Path of Exile, saw, yep, that works really well, but it could be even better, or we could do it completely different. And that's what the innovating, like, of the ARPG should be, and I hope will be in the future. If you were just looking at PoE and then D4, which a lot of us would have, you would think there's not much room for innovation anymore. You're like, okay, well, that's kind of what just happened, D4. And I guess we'll just wait for PoE 2 and hopefully they can bring something else to the table. But no, it turns out you can still do a lot with skills, with crafting, with, you know, gameplay. There's still a lot that can happen, still a lot that you can bring to the table if you actually try by looking at past games and bringing your own spin to it. So that's what Gauntlet is. It isn't anything innovating. It is just a system that they put in place to basically quell the tide so that people don't ask for it anymore. And it also confuses me because...
By the way, I don't think they're quelling the tide or anything at this point. I think it's just fucking over, okay? I really think it's over. When Vaults came out, people got pissed about the reward not being good enough. And I was like, actually confused for a minute, because people were saying, well, of course the Vault needs bigger rewards. And I'm like, wait, you're complaining about the fact that Vaults need bigger rewards? Bigger than dungeons? It's the same as dungeons. And then it hit me. No one in Diablo 4 actually was happy how dungeons turned out. everyone just got tired complaining about how bad dungeons is, so the devs just accepted how they are and thought that they did a win. So it makes perfect sense when the vaults came out that the reward would be the same as the dungeons, because everyone's happy with the dungeons, right? Well, no one's happy with the dungeons. Everyone hates the dungeons. But how long are we gonna just, keep on yapping and saying that the dungeons are bad? There's a limit to that. At some point, people just literally just stop going into dungeons because they're so bad and whatnot. And man, I did not see that. I did not even think about that. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay.
It was released halfway through this season right now, and I don't understand why that would have happened, because this system, this Gauntlet, doesn't look very fun, doesn't look very interesting, or like it's going to add too much to the game right now. But if it was in its exact same spot right now, released at the start of a season, it would have actually at least added some kind of cool factor to it of, oh man, everyone's going to be racing to the top as they're building their character up. You get your character to level 70, maybe you want to try yourself against a gauntlet, you get it to level 80, 85, you get some new skills, you get some new items, try it again, someone else is making a push, you try and make a push, you find a Shaco big new item, someone else finds a grandfather or something, you're competing against each other, someone's taking the lead, someone else taking the lead because of items, because of routes, whatever the fuck it is. All of a sudden that would have been way more exciting. Instead it was dumped in the middle of the season when most people that have been playing this entire time have like their perfect gear setup, and then there's just a few sweaty people that can try against each other for a few rounds and it just looks flat. So there's that. And I think the only reason they would have possibly done it right now like this is the lack of confidence in the system and trying to bring people back mid-season. Maybe that's what it is. But it could have been so much more. Like, the innovation for that, just, I don't understand why it's not there at all. It could have been so much more. You could add layers to it, levels. You could be more of a dungeon crawl where you go through various stages of going to deeper.
Then we are just moving back to Diablo 3 and Rifts, essentially.
Parts of a dungeon. Instead of being time-based, it could have been depth-based, kind of like a delve system. Things get progressively harder.
A delve system would have been great, but I don't think anyone at Blizzard in general knows how to do anything if they don't add a timer in which you need to complete it. Which, by the way, is real stupid.
And, maybe you'll be remembered as one of the heroes that went some certain depth and then your character disappears or some shit. It could be more loot-based. I don't fucking know, man. I'm not a game designer. The problem is it doesn't need to be what an old system was from 10 years ago, but worse. So I don't get why there isn't any attempt at trying to innovate there. It's reskinned bosses, it's reskinned mobs. Sometimes not even reskinned. It's mostly just like the actual mobs that have already been there. Tomb Lord number 5000. So I don't understand why they don't at least try and do some bigger things. It's like they don't want to look at past examples and try and make bigger and better. They just want to... I don't know, man.
I just think they're incompetent.
Phone it in. Beats me. So yeah, it's a bit of a rant about the Gauntlet, and then playing this game has reminded me a lot of things I didn't like in D4, and I just took them for what they were. I was like, yep, I mean, whatever, it's a bit annoying, game's still kind of fun to play, it's still, satisfying in some way, but then seeing what could have been, like, I wish D4 had a lot of what this game did, and then maybe even more, and I think it would have been a game that could damn near dethrone PoE for me, because I love the Diablo series, I love Angels, Demons and stuff, and I love learning a whole new ARPG. Unfortunately, I won't get to do that in almost anything other than PoE 2, I imagine. This game is currently kind of limited in its depth because it's still fairly new, it's still being built upon. I'm still finding it very fun and learning and, building my characters and skills and all that, but it will come to an end, I don't know, maybe in a week or something, and then I'll come back at some other time when they've got more to it, and eventually I suspect they'll have lots more, and it will be a true competitor for me. But at the moment, it's just going to be, a playthrough or two. Diablo 4, unless it completely changes what it has done and what it can do and what it will be doing, unlikely is going to be bringing me back.
Okay, so Diablo 4 is gonna change. Okay, Diablo 4 is gonna change a lot, baby, but not in the direction you probably want it. Okay, the devs are failing constantly. They're literally just gonna give up at some point and rip all the mechanics that people almost liked from other games that they have. That's it. That they're just gonna create some kind of monstrous amalgamation of Diablo 3 and World of Warcraft mechanics or something like that. It's good. Diablo 4 is gonna change, but at this point, I don't think it's gonna change for the better. I think it's gonna get progressively worse and worse, and I think the first sign that it's absolutely 100% unironically over is gonna be Season 4, when we have the item rework, which I have a strong suspicion is gonna be most likely closer to Diablo 3 than anything else.
Back for any real duration, maybe just to test a new system or some shit. But it just disappoints me. Like this whole video is just a rant about basically being disappointed in what could have been, because there's just no risk taking in that building of that game, and there's just no reward because of it. The crafting system is another thing that pissed me off after doing this crafting system. Looking back at that one, it's an insult to call what D4 has as a crafting system. You find an item.
It's not a crafting system even. The majority of people forget you can even reroll a stat on an item, and that's a complete joke.
You take it to the vendor or the smith or whatever, and you press upgrade 5 times.
Oh wait, that's supposed to be a crafting system? Are you kidding me? That is actually crafting? Is that really a crafting system? Wow, I didn't even consider that a crafting system.
Away your mats for a slightly more powerful item. This one, you have choices, you are immediately engaging with it, you are making more powerful items. There's also part of what a crafting system needs to be is risk and reward. Yes. You either win sometimes, you lose sometimes. You get big results, you get not big results. That's what makes things exciting. Likewise with the minimap, another thing that pissed me off. I didn't even log into D4. I clicked on DatMods' stream when he was trying out the Gauntlet, and for him to see where he wanted to go next, he had to press his map button, and all of a sudden, huge map overlay, you can't see anything, and then you press your map button, and then you're basically staring at the top right where your minimap is, wondering where you go next. Whereas here, you press your little fucking overlay, boom, you keep running, you know where you're going, you take your...
Oh yeah, that's actually kind of hilariously stupid. Diablo 4 doesn't even have a minimap, technically.
Overlay off when you just want to blast and not have to see that. I don't understand it. Okay, so I think that's about it. Didn't know what else to really say. I just wanted to rant about the Gauntlet and then the state of how I feel about D4 and what I've seen from it and how it's been going, and then compare it to my latest exhibition into another ARPG. And what that leads me to is I'm actually more excited for PoE 2 now because I know what else there is.
I think PoE 2... I already have said this, but I think PoE 2 is going to be the new Diablo 4. In terms of what audience it goes after, I think PoE 2 is going to be Diablo 4. Because PoE 2 is, well, trying to get rid of a lot of useless complexity that PoE has. It is... Okay, you can be a PoE fan, that's fine. I play PoE, I like it, but... I'm not under any delusion that PoE is an absolutely over-bloated fucking corpse of 52 trillion mechanics that you need to read Wikipedia article one after another so you can actually properly function in the endgame for the first time. It is absolutely crazily stupid and over-bloated with, crafting and shit like that. To be a decent crafter in PoE, you literally... need to read a light novel of shit before you understand how things function properly and what is the actual way that you craft things.
Is what else can be, and I know the leaders of the innovation in the RPG genre, and it is GGG, and they have their previous game to build upon. They will
Again, PoE 2 innovation, but let's see how that works because they have bad innovation. Skills that make you move backward when cast gonna go away. Combo skills, bro. PoE started 10 years ago or however years ago. You had a skill for killing bosses, and then you had an AoE skill. And then PoE just slowly mutated to the point where, yeah, you cleared the whole game with one skill. It's AoE, it's single target damage, it's everything. If you want to be a super sweaty dude, just change faster projectiles for slower projectiles or something like that because it's the bigger multiplier most likely, right? For a couple of things. There you go. It's a shit show.
We'll look at other games like your Diablo, like your Last Epoch. They will take systems, they will try to build upon other systems, they'll try and bring new stuff. And this game is certainly a bit slower than PoE, and it felt pretty damn good to play. And PoE 2, by the looks of it, might be a bit slower than PoE 1, but at the same time, it's going to be deep, it's going to be new. There's going to be lots of new stuff to explore, figure out, build, and I think it's going to feel
exciting,
pretty damn good. Part of why I want to go test this PoE 2 thing in LA right now is to kind of certify from the start of a game, if we get to play that, just how good it might feel to play at that slower pace to begin with, and whether or not it feels bad, because everyone's afraid that it kind of looks slower and worse, but I don't think it will feel any worse. And the start of the game just, of course, is going to be a bit slower. PoE 1, the start of the game is pretty slow. So I'm going to compare it kind of to the start of PoE 1. If it feels a similar pace, if it feels a bit slow, but it still feels really good, then holy shit, we should be very excited.
I like PoE 1 at the start more than it is now, because now it's like a little, most of it is zoomer festivities. You just press your fucking thing, movement skill or whatever, and you just one-shot everything on screen in instant, and there you go. Still fun, but a little bit more slow and methodical. I kind of am a bigger fan of that. So anyway, that was Metal. Good times. Anyway, this was Quizzer saying thanks for watching, subscribe, haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye bye.